Hello everyone, I'm Roshali Opris and today I will explain you about the create table statement and some other concepts related to it. First of all, let's take a look at what is SQL. It's a standard language for accessing and manipulating databases. It consists three sub-languages as DDL, DML and DCL. Today we will learn about the create statement in DDL and a bit about the insert statement in DML. The main focus is on create tables. Before learning about the create table statement, let's have a look at what primary key and foreign key is. Primary key is a constraint which uniquely identifies each record in a table. It's often called as the parent key. We can't have duplicate values in a primary key, and at the same time it cannot have null value. And also in a table we cannot have more than one primary key, but this primary key can have one or multiple fields. That kind of a primary key is known as a composite primary key. What is a foreign key? It's a column or a group of columns in a relational database table that provides a link between data in two tables. It's often called as the child. The foreign key value should always match to the primary key values, and the values in the foreign key can be null. When we look at the example, the primary key of lecturer table is LecID and the primary key of subject table is subject code. And as we can see, the primary key of lecturer table has a link to the subject table as a foreign key. Now let's focus on our main objective, which is the create table statement. Create table statement is a statement used to create new tables in a database. How can we create a table in SQL? We use a specific syntax for it. There are some steps we should follow. First one, we should write the Oracle keyword create table. Second one, we should write the name of the table. Third one, we should input the columns names. Fourth one, input the data type. It can be either int, varchar, date and time or any other data type. Fourth one, we should input the length of the data type. Sixth one, we should input the primary key, and lastly, we should input the foreign key and the references. Okay, now let's look at this example. In table number 1, the name of the table is lecturer and the column names are LecID, LecName, age, and the data types are number and varchar. In table number 1, the primary key is LecID, and in the second table we can see the primary key of lecturer has been gone to the second table as a foreign key. When we create tables, there are some things that we should consider. We use the previous example to check the important notes. First one. First, we should create the lecturer table as it doesn't have any links to other tables. Simply, it doesn't have any foreign keys. Second one. The foreign key of subject table won't have any meaning if we create the subject table first. Third one. The foreign key of subject table should exist as a primary key in the lecturer table. Now let's take a look at the many-to-many relationship. When we have a many-to-many relationship, we can't represent it directly. So we have to convert the many-to-many relationship into two many-to-one relationships. When we convert the many-to-many relationship according to this example, we get an associative entity in between the other two entities. And this associative entity has its own properties. The associative entity doesn't have a primary key, so it takes the primary key of the other two entities, which is order ID and product ID, and then it creates a composite primary key. After we create a table, we have to insert data into it. So to do that, we use the insert statement. So in the syntax, first we write the insert into keyword, and then we write the name of the table. After that, we write the column names, and in the second line, we write the values for each column. And finally, let's look at check constraints. It's a constraint which has fixed validation on data values. It cannot have any subqueries, and conditions which refers to values in other rows and columns. When we look at the example, the check constraints check whether the value is not null and whether the user has entered either M or F and nothing other than that. And if the check constraint is not executed properly, you will get the following error. According to the example, the values doesn't match with the information provided, so you will get a constraint error. So this is the end of my presentation. I hope you got an idea about what create table statement is. Thank you.